Mr. Deputy Mayor, we're live.
Thank you very much. Okay, welcome everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of Development Services Committee meeting to order, please. Before reading the land acknowledgement, I'd like to take care of a couple of housekeeping items, so please be sure to silence your phones while in chambers, and members of the public when speaking at the podium, and council members before addressing council, please take time to adjust your microphones so you're speaking clearly and directly into the microphone. The public shall respect the decorum of the meeting and refrain from public outbursts or behavior intended to disrupt the discussion. Respect the dignity and rights of other persons present and not ridicule, demean, or intimidate any person. The township of Oro-Medonte acknowledges they were situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people and the ancestral territory of the Huron-Wendat. The Anishinaabe include the Ottawa, the Ojibwe, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. It continues today as the home for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the historic Métis community in Penetanguishene. The Anishinaabe people continue to have an enduring relationship with this land, specifically the Chippewas of the Rama First Nation, the Chippewa Tri-Council, and the William Treaties First Nation. The Huron-Wendat Nation also continues to pay respect and protect their ancestors and heritage on this land. We honor the Indigenous history and culture that has thrived for millennia in this territory and the treaties that bind us together as partners in the spirit of shared, sustainable, and prosperous future. We are all treaty people. Our commitment begins with acknowledging the truth so that we can move forward together towards reconciliation. Thank you. Just a note that Councillors Hutchison and Young have sent their regrets for today's meeting. May we have a motion to approve the agenda, please, Madam Deputy Clerk?
Moved by Shaw, seconded by Greenlaw. It is recommended that the agenda for the Development Services Committee meeting of Wednesday, June 4th, 2025 be received and approved.
Very well. Any comments or suggestions with regard to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? The motion is carried. The minutes are approved. Do we have any disclosures of pecuniary interest with regard to tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none. May we have a motion to approve the draft minutes?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Clark. It is recommended that the draft minutes of the Development Services Committee meeting held on Wednesday, May 7, 2025 be received and approved as printed and circulated.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? The minutes are approved. Okay, with this we have tonight, as the display shows, one public meeting and 3 public hearings. I'll briefly summarize the procedure to be utilized for each of these meetings and hearings. Each application will be considered separately. The staff will advise of the purpose and effect of the application, provide any relevant information, note any correspondence that has been received to date, and advise of any statement received from the applicant or if the applicant intends to make a presentation. If so, the applicant will then be given the opportunity to make a brief presentation. After the presentation, any members of the public who have been registered to provide comment who are here in chambers will be given the opportunity to speak to the application being considered. The Deputy Clerk will advise of those who have registered, and finally staff will confirm if further correspondence has been received during the public hearing or meeting. There will be a separate statement read at the start of each scheduled public meeting and hearing. So with that, we will move on to item 5A on the agenda. This public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment application 2025 ZBA-24, submitted by Donald and Wanda Miller on lands municipally known as 9 Mohawk Heights. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee schedule a meeting for the hearing. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been any correspondence received on the matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division dated May 14, Severn Sound Environmental Association dated May 15, and Enbridge Gas dated May 24, 2025.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Andy Karaskakis, Manager of Planning Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Karaskakis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. The purpose of this public meeting is to consider a zoning bylaw amendment application 2025 ZBA 24 submitted for lands located at 9 Mohawk Heights in the rural settlement area of Sugarbush. The subject property is zoned residential 1 exception 113 and has a lot area of approximately 0.2 hectares. The lands currently contain a single detached dwelling. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment application is to amend the residential 1 exception 113 zone to add a bed and breakfast establishment as a permitted use on the subject property. The applicants are proposing to use 2 bedrooms for the purpose of a bed and breakfast establishment within the existing dwelling. The image on the screen there shows a view of the subject property from Mohawk Heights, which identifies the proposed parking area in front of the dwelling out in the distance there, and the public notice sign installed in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. The image on the left shows an aerial photo of the subject property, which is outlined in red. And the image on the right shows the subject property, again outlined in red, showing the existing zone of the subject property. The applicants prepared a site plan drawing of showing the existing dwelling. So there is an arrow pointing to the existing dwelling, which is the subject of the zoning bylaw amendment application. And again, the purpose is to permit a bed and breakfast establishment within the dwelling. And the applicants are proposing to use 2 bedrooms for the purpose of the bed and breakfast. The images on the screen here show the typical building elevations of the existing dwelling.
Excuse me, Mr. Karaskakis, for one moment, please. Councillor Schell?
My apologies. I didn't get an opportunity to view this earlier. I have a conflict of interest as I own a bed and breakfast, short-term rental property in Oro-Medonte, so I'm going to have to excuse myself.
Okay, thank you very much. Fortunately, we still have a quorum. Thank you very much. Sorry for the interruption, Mr. Karaskakis. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So the images on the screen here show the existing dwelling. So these are the rear elevations of the existing dwelling, and the side view, which is the view from the, we'll call it the eastern elevation. There are 2 side doors on different grades, which provide access to the dwelling. And here are some views looking along Mohawk Heights Road, so at the end of the cul-de-sac and looking down the street. Image on the left shows the parking areas that gain access for the existing dwelling. The subject property drops significantly from the roadside, so there's no driveway to get access to the dwelling. There's no garage to store vehicles, so the applicant parks the vehicles on the roadside or the road grade, and will be subject to review and concurrence with the township's operations and roads division for additional parking spaces to be used for the bed and breakfast use. The image on the right shows the view from the road, looking at the subject property, which is the front of the dwelling. And a few more images showing views looking to the east of the subject property. In the middle, views looking to the south, so at the rear of the dwelling, and a view looking to the west from the front of the dwelling. And as noted earlier, there are two side entrances located on the easterly portion of the property to get access into the dwelling. Deputy Mayor, this concludes staff's presentation and overview of this subject zoning application. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to get public comments and information from the public and from members of council. No decision will be made at tonight's meeting with respect to this application. Staff will compile all the comments and will prepare a recommendation report for consideration at a future committee meeting. Happy to answer any questions. Any question by committee? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd now ask Donald Miller, who is registered to speak, if he wishes to provide any further comments with respect to the staff report. Oh, so please just come up and state your name when you get to the microphone.
Sure, my name is Donald Miller, and I'm the co-owner of our house at 8 Mohawk Heights. We have put in an apartment in our house, and this is what we want to rent out and use it as a bed and breakfast. We applied for a variance initially when we built the house, and that was approved, went through council, and we for all the years since we moved in 2019, we have operated this bed and breakfast. We originally had applied. We obtained a lawyer because we had to check to make sure that we were in agreement with what the bylaws, the current bylaws at that point in time were saying. We're very respectful of council and what their requirements are. We're respectful of our neighbors. We live in the house. We only have guests there when we are there. We don't have guests. We keep it to 4 people. We have rules in relation to the noise levels that can be emitted and what's expected of them during the stay. We don't allow certain things on our in the area, such as fireworks or a campfire pit. We've told everyone that's in our rules and regulations, and we basically say on our advertisement that if you're coming here to party, go somewhere else. You're not welcome. So we've been very respectful. We haven't had any complaints from our neighbors. We actually told our neighbors that we had this facility in our house, and initially, and they were surprised because they hadn't heard anything. They weren't even aware of it. They knew. The only reason we told them was because we had extra cars in our parking area, and we wanted them to know that, you know, that there, from time to time that would be the case. So with this, with this level of respect and consideration for our neighbors, we hope that this will be approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Members of the committee, any questions for either Mr. Karaskakis or Mr. Miller? Okay, I see none. Oh, sorry. Mr. Mayor?
Through you, Chair, to Mr. Karaskakis. So the zoning amendment hasn't taken place. I just want, that's what they're here, is to try and get the zoning amendment, correct?
That is correct. Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Mayor Greenlaw, that is correct.
Okay, no, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. When I was looking at the presentation, did I perceive correctly that the adjacent lot is vacant?
The adjacent lot to the west, I believe, has a cabin or an old cottage located on the property.
Okay. Okay, so it's some structure. Okay, thank you. All right, then with that, is there anybody else registered to speak to this matter?
There was one person that was registered to provide comments online, but they are not in the waiting room. If they are in the audience, when you get to that point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone in chambers who wishes to speak to this matter? Yes, sir. Could you please come up and state your name at the microphone?
Hi, my name is Brent Zamet. I'm their neighbor at 11 Mohawk. The only concern, great neighbors, everything like that, was just the number of vehicles. Like, I didn't want anything blocking the road, as long as it's on the driveway. And then my only other concern was, because like we have the easement between our two lots there, and you can see on the one diagram, and just like some sort of like identification. So like when they have guests and they want to like explore their property a bit, they're not coming over onto our property, because like it's very treacherous grading there.
Yeah.
And if somebody was to get onto our property and then get hurt, I don't want to be responsible. And that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, sir. Is there anyone else in chambers who wants to speak to this matter? Mr. Miller, did you want to? Yeah, if you'd like to speak again, please. Yes.
As Brent knows, we're very respectful neighbors, and we don't actually have at the moment anything regarding staying on our property and where the property line is, but we certainly can do that. There is river rock that goes all the way down the side of our property, and we can make sure that we tell them that they should stay on this side of the river rock, so we have no problem with that. As far as the parking goes, I believe that the council is considering the size in relation to the application as far as how many additional cars can be parked in the parking lot, so, or in the parking area. So, and I think Brent will probably be would probably corroborate the fact that in the past there has been I don't think there's been any problems with us blocking his driveway, or we've been totally considerate 100% on his area and how he has to get in and out during the times we've both been neighbors.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay. With that, any questions brought about by that? Any communications received during the course of the meeting, Mr. Karaskakis?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing has been received.
Okay, with that, I will close the meeting. There's no need for a motion on this meeting, is there?
Correct.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Then we're all done for tonight's purposes, and staff will prepare a report for this as soon as practicable. And so you should hear from us very soon. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, we do have about 5-6 minutes left until the next scheduled public hearing for 5:55. So if committee would like to consider reports under Section 7, reports of municipal officers, I would recommend perhaps 7A. If there's any comments.
Okay.
If the committee feels that
we
may
can
take a little longer than 5-6 minutes on that we can consider 7C, which could be a little quicker.
I think C might be the better one. Yes, thank you very much. I agree. Thank you. Okay, with that, is there a need for a schedule revision motion, Madam Deputy Clerk?
No, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, so then we will jump ahead to item 7C. So may we have the motion for 7C, please?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Shell. It is recommended, one, that DS 2025-061, Andy Karaskakis, Manager Planning Services, Reminer Variance Application 2025 A04, Sharp, 76 Ward Avenue, be received and adopted. Two, that minor variance application 2025A04 specifically to construct a new single detached dwelling with a reduced setback from the average high water mark of Bass Lake of 13.85 meters, 45.4 feet, and 14.25 meters, 46.7 feet to the dwelling, and 12.7 meters, 41.6 feet to the wood deck stairs on lands municipally known as 76 Ward Avenue, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2025-061. 3, that the applicant be advised of the committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Is there anything to display with regard to that motion, Mr. Karaiskakis? Thank you. Members of the committee, are there any questions or comments with regard to this application at 76 Ward Avenue? Okay, seeing none, then may I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Well, the next 6:05, we still have another 13 minutes. Sorry, I jumped ahead. Oh boy, I'm in trouble. All right, thank you very much. Now that the committee has me in order, we're all set to proceed in 3 minutes. Oh, geez.
Would you like to break for 3 minutes, Mr. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, that'll be fine. I'll get myself a glass of water.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, we're live.
Thank you very much. So we'll proceed with item 6A on the agenda, which is application 2025B05. The applicant is Senti Rasa, and the municipal address is 872 Lakeshore Road East. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the consent application 2025B05 submitted by Senti Rasa on lands municipally known as 872 Lakeshore Road East. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received by the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the consent application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been communication received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division dated April 8, Building Division dated May 21st, Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority dated May 22 and May 28, Enbridge Gas dated May 27, Ron and Betty Nelsons dated June 4th, County of Simcoe Planning Department dated June 4th, 2025.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the meeting over to Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, who will explain the purpose and effect of the consent application and any written statement received from the applicant. Ms. McCarroll, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. The subject property is located at 872 Lakeshore Road East. The property is zoned shoreline residential and designated shoreline in the township's official plan, and the current use of the property is residential. Next slide. The purpose of the consent application is the creation of a new residential lot. So the lands to be severed are proposed to have a frontage of 35.8 meters and an area of 0.15 hectares and are proposed to be used for future residential use. And the lands to be retained are proposed to have a frontage of 35.5 meters and an area of approximately 0.15 hectares and is currently a residential use. Next slide. The image on the left-hand side is an aerial image of the property. So there is an existing single detached dwelling on the lands to be retained, and the lands to be severed are currently vacant on the right-hand side. And then the map that's on the right-hand side shows that the subject lands are located within 100 meters of Lake Simcoe and within 120 meters of the significant woodland that's located to the northwest of the subject lands. The Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority and the county both waive the requirement for a natural heritage evaluation. However, the LSRCA still requires a topographic survey to ensure that there is a buildable lot area on the lands to be severed with safe access and that there would be no risk of damage. Next slide. This is the applicant's consent sketch showing the lands to be retained, which are on the left-hand side, and the lands to be severed, which are on the right-hand side. The applicant will be required to convey a 15 meter by 15 meter daylight triangle at the intersection of Lakeshore Road East and Line 9 South. And even with that required daylight triangle, the applicant has demonstrated on their site plan that there is sufficient space to fit a dwelling, driveway, well, and septic system on both the lands to be severed and retained. Next slide. So these are the views looking both east and west along Lakeshore Road East. Next slide. And then these are the views looking both north and south along Line 9 South. Next slide. And this is a photo of the public notice sign that was posted along Lakeshore Road East. Next slide. And this photo here shows the existing single detached dwelling that's on the lands to be retained. And next slide. And these two photos show the lands to be severed, which are currently vacant. Next slide. Planning staff are recommending that consent application 2025-B05 be deferred to provide the applicant with the opportunity to obtain a topographic survey to the satisfaction of the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority. And I am available if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCarroll. I'll now ask the applicant, Senti Rasa, who is registered to speak, if he has anything further to provide with regard to the staff presentation. Mr. Rasa, please state your name.
Yeah, my name is Senti Raza. I don't have any comments or concern right now at this moment.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. With regard to that, committee members, any questions for staff or Mr. Raza? No? Oh, Councillor Schell?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Ms. McCarroll, can you just describe what the natural heritage evaluation is about, please?
So through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Councillor Schell. So the natural heritage evaluation is a requirement under the Lakes Simcoe Protection Plan and the County of Simcoe official plan. Now, both the county and the LSRCA waive that requirement. So the natural heritage evaluation is no longer required. So the reason for deferral is because we need the topographic survey, which will be reviewed and approved by the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Schell and Ms. McCarroll. Sorry? Oh, you do? I'll put up that little yellow card next time.
My
okay?
apologies.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, please.
My apologies, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Ms. McCarroll, how long is the topographic survey, would it usually take?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Mayor Greenlaw, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to that. I'm not too sure how long it takes, but I did have a discussion with the applicant. I think it was just yesterday, and he had mentioned that it was approximately 3 weeks to get them in.
Okay.
I don't know how long it's to actually create the plan.
Okay, no, perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Any further questions using the yellow card? Okay, seeing none. Is anyone else registered to speak to this matter, Madam?
Natasha Parsons is registered to speak, and she is in the waiting room, I believe.
Okay, great. Please connect her.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Ms. Parsons. Please proceed.
I have no comments at this time.
Oh, I see. And are you representing someone or?
We are with Santee. We're the engineering firm.
Oh, okay, fine. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Oh, would you have an answer to the mayor's question if you heard it then?
No, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
No worries. Okay, and is there anyone else registered to speak tonight?
No, Mr. Deputy Mayor, there are no further registrations.
And I presume from the attendance in the chambers that there's no one else here to speak to the matter. Did we receive any additional correspondence during the course of the hearing?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing further has been received for this application.
Okay, thank you very much. May we hear the motion, please?
Moved by Greenlaw, seconded by Schell. It is recommended that DS 2025-054, Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, Reconsent Application 2025-B05, Raza 872 Lakeshore Road East be received and adopted. 2, that consent application 2025-B05 to permit the creation of a new residential lot consisting of a severed parcel having an area of approximately 0.15 hectares, 0.38 acres, and a frontage of approximately 35.8 meters, 117.4 feet, and a retained parcel having a lot area of approximately 0.1 hectares, 0.37 acres, and a frontage of approximately 35.5 meters, 116.5 feet, be deferred to provide the applicant with the opportunity to obtain a topographic survey and natural heritage evaluation, NHE, to the satisfaction of the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, LSRCA, and the Township of Oro-Medonte. 3, that the applicant be advised of the committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments with regard to the motion itself? Seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All those in favor? The motion is carried. The matter is deferred until we have a topographic survey. Thank you very much, Mr. Raza, and everyone who attended, and we'll look forward to considering it again in the future. A copy of this decision will be mailed to the applicant and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. Oh, just on time. With that, we can move on to agenda item 6B, which is applications 2025B06 and 2025B07. The applicant is MASH Enterprises Inc. /Price. On behalf of Matthew and Sherry Price, the municipal addresses are 1860 Ridge Road West and roll number 4346 010 007 22200. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comment with respect to the consent applications 2025B06 and 2025B07 submitted by MASH Enterprises Inc. and Matthew and Sherry Price on lands municipally known as 1860 Ridge Road West and roll number 4346 010 007 22200. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the consent applications. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been correspondence received on this matter?
Yes, correspondence from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division dated May 20, Building Division dated May 21, and Enbridge Gas dated May 26, 2025.
Thank you very much. I now turn the hearing over to Andy Karaskakis, Manager of Planning Services, who will explain the purpose and effect of the consent applications and any written statement received from the applicant. Mr. Karaskakis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Consent applications 2025B06 and 2025B07 are the subject of this combined public hearing as they affect the two properties. The two properties are located at 1860 Ridge Road West and a property adjacent immediately to the east of that property with a roll number of 4346 010 007 22200. Both subject properties are zoned residential 1 in the township zoning bylaw and are within the rural settlement area of Shanty Bay. The property at 1860 Ridge Road West has a total lot area of approximately 0.39 hectares and contains a single detached dwelling. The property located to the east at 4346 010 007 22200 has a total lot area approximately 0.52 hectares and is currently vacant. As mentioned, these applications are to facilitate boundary adjustment applications to one another. So the first consent application, 2025B06, is to facilitate a boundary adjustment, which is to sever approximately 10.3 meters of road frontage in an area approximately 0.1 hectares from 1860 Ridge Road West to be added to the vacant property to the east. As a result of the subject consent application and the related consent application B07, the final lot configuration, which is to be the vacant property, would have a lot frontage of approximately 32.7 meters of frontage along Ridge Road and an area of approximately 0.6 hectares in size. As mentioned, the property is vacant and is to facilitate a future dwelling. As a result of the two boundary adjustment applications, the final lot configuration for 1860 Ridge Road West, which contains the existing dwelling, would have a lot frontage of approximately 32.7 meters and a lot area approximately 0.36 hectares and would retain the existing dwelling on the property. So the purpose of the second boundary adjustment application, 2025B07, is to sever land from the vacant property to be added to 1860 Ridge Road West. The land to be severed would have a width of approximately 31 meters, which is land that is located directly behind 1860 Ridge Road West, so there's no frontage involved in this boundary adjustment application, and an area of about 0.06 hectares. And the final lot configurations for both properties, I mentioned it previously, those don't change. So again, to have a lot frontage of approximately 32 meters for both properties, and a lot area approximately 0.36 hectares for 1860 Ridge Road West, and a lot area approximately 0.6 hectares for the vacant property to the east. And it should be noted that as a result of these two boundary adjustment applications, no new lots are to be created. The image on the left of the screen shows the two subject properties. So the arrow points to the lands that are subject to the consent application 2025-B06, which contains the existing dwelling. And that's the purpose of that application, is to sever 10 meters of frontage along Ridge Road West and a strip going all the way to the rear of the subject property, to be added to the vacant property, which is the subject of 2025-B07. As mentioned, 2025-B07 is vacant, and the purpose of that application is to sever lands that are directly behind 1860 Ridge Road West to be added to 1860 Ridge Road West. Additional diagrams and images will help committee in this regard to help assist them in identifying these lands. An image on the right shows a public notice sign posted in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. So these are the existing lot configurations for both properties. The applicant provided a sketch which identifies the purpose of the two boundary adjustment applications. So, Mr. Chair and committee, the lands that are shown in a green area that are mentioned located behind the property at 1860, those are the lands that are subject to the consent application applied for on the vacant property to be severed and added to 1860. Yeah. So that's the first application. The other application is then to sever the purple area, which will have that 10-meter frontage to go all the way to the rear of 1860 Ridge Road West, to be added to the vacant property to the east. And the final lot configuration would look something like that, which shows the boundary adjustment applications. You get a sense of the current existing lot fabric that currently exists and what the two boundary adjustments would have the end result. A couple of views looking east and west along Ridge Road West. Image on the left shows the views of the subject lands and the general area along the frontage of land to be severed from the existing dwelling at 1860 to be added to the vacant property. And the view of subject lands on the right-hand side of your screen shows the existing dwelling in the white exterior, and the vacant property to the right of that, which is defined by the tree line. These are the view of the rear of the subject properties, looking from generally along the common interior lot line of both properties. And this is the view of the subject lands subject to the consent application 2025-B07. So the lands that are located behind 1860 Ridge Road West to be added to that property. So it's vacant and contains some tree cover. Mr. Chair, through the consultation and review process of this application, comments were raised by the Township's Building Division as it relates to confirming the location of the existing septic system that serves the existing dwelling. And with those comments, planning staff are not in a position to recommend approval and are actually recommending deferral of the application, of the two applications, to give the applicant the opportunity to address the building division comments. And the applicant has been in contact with building staff on how to address and to satisfy these comments. So staff are confident that these issues could be resolved shortly, and a recommendation report could be provided to committee at the next committee meeting for a recommendation. Mr. Chair, those are all the comments I have. Happy to answer any questions committee may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Karaiskakis. I now ask the applicant, Matt Price, who is registered to speak to the applications, if he has any comments to provide, anything further to the staff presentation. Mr. Price, please, if you can just state your name.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Matt Price. I am the owner of both those properties, making the boundary adjustment. Last Tuesday at 3 o'clock, I was informed of building department's concerns about locating the septic, of which none of us have any records of. So between Tuesday at 3:30 and Thursday evening, which was my deadline that staff had given me, I couldn't dig up the yard to figure out where the septic is. So that's why I concur with the deferral. And we'll take the next month and figure out how we can deal with the septic situation, period. So I'm here to answer any other questions outside of that, if anyone has them.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
With that, any questions from the committee with either, oh, yes, Councillor Schell, please.
Yes, thank you, Deputy. Through you to Mr. Price. Are there any other comments from the building department other than the septic?
They just needed to have me identify where the well is on the 1860 property. There is a well there. It's just not on the site plan that was submitted. So right. I'm going to put that on there. And there's four comments all in all, but two of them were irrelevant. One was about the septic, and one was about the well location.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Any further questions of Mr. Price? Seeing none. Anyone registered to speak to this matter, Madam Deputy Clerk?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone in chambers here who wishes to speak to this matter? No. One other party is not wishing to speak to this matter. Any further commentary received while the hearing was in progress, Mr. Karaiskakis?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing further has been received for this application.
Okay, and thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Price, for consenting to the deferment. May we have the motion, please?
Moved by Clark. My apologies. Sorry. Moved by Clark, seconded by Greenlaw. It is recommended that DS 2025-059, Andy Karaiskakis, Manager, Planning Services, Reconsent Applications, 2025-B06 and 2025-B07, MASH Enterprises, Inc., and Price, 1860 Ridge Road West, and 4346-010-007-22200 be received and adopted. 2, that consent applications 2025-B06 and 2025-B07 to permit 2 boundary adjustments be deferred to provide the applicant with the opportunity to address building division comments.
Thank you very much. Any questions with regard to the motion? Oh, seeing none, then may I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. The matter will be heard next month, presumably.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee.
So the committee wishes to thank all those in attendance and who participated, and a copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the applications. With that, we can move ahead to items 6C on the agenda, which is application 2025-B09. The applicant is 12 West South Inc., and the municipal address is 9647 Highway 12. This public hearing is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act to obtain public comments with respect to the consent application 2025-B 09 submitted by 12 West South Inc. on lands municipally known as 9647 Highway 12. Please be advised that this hearing is being digitally recorded for the purposes of the creation of a public record. Only after comments are received from the public, township staff, and requested agencies will the Development Services Committee make a decision on the consent application. Madam Deputy Clerk, has there been correspondence received on this matter?
Correspondence received from the Township of Oro-Medonte Operations Division, May 21, Building Division, May 21, Severn Sound Environmental Association, May 22, Enbridge Gas, dated May 27, and Hydro One, dated June 6, 2025.
Thank you very much. I'll now turn the hearing over to Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, who will explain the purpose and effect of the consent application and any written statement received from the applicant. Ms. McCarroll, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. The subject property is located at 9647 Highway 12. The property is zoned Residential 1, Exception 360, hold, Residential 1, Exception 360 and 364, hold, Institutional and Open Space Zone. The property is designated rural settlements, and it's located within the Warminster Rural Settlement Area, and the current use of the property is vacant. Next slide. The purpose of consent application 2025 B09 is to sever and merge lands for the purpose of a boundary adjustment, severing Block 13 from the approved draft plan of subdivision and conveying it to the Warminster Elementary School, which is located to the north of the subject lands. The Simcoe County District School Board is seeking to acquire these lands prior to the registration of the plan of subdivision, as they plan to complete the site works on these lands prior to the start of the school year in September. The lands to be severed from 9647 Highway 12 and merged with 4031 Line 13 North, which is the Warminster Elementary School, is proposed to have a frontage of approximately 45.9 meters, an irregular lot depth, and an area of approximately 0.4 hectares, and the use would be institutional. And the lands to be retained, which are 9647 Highway 12, are proposed to have a frontage of approximately 199.4 meters, an irregular lot depth, an area of approximately 2.36 hectares, and would be a future residential subdivision. Next slide. The image on the left-hand side shows that the lands that are currently vacant, well, the full lands are currently vacant, and the benefiting lands, which are located to the north, are the Warminster Elementary School. The image on the right-hand side shows the existing zoning of the subject lands. So there was a zoning bylaw amendment, which was passed last year, so that's 2021 ZBA 15, and it was to rezone the residential lands to 2 site-specific zones. And that was to permit reduced lot frontages, reduced lot areas, and reduce front yard setbacks. There's also open space zone, which you can see in the green, and that was to permit a stormwater management block and a walkway block. And then the lands to be transferred to the school, which are identified in red, they are already zoned institutional, which permits a public school use. Next slide. This is the applicant's consent sketch. The lands to be severed and conveyed to the school are identified in the cream color on the north side of the property, and the lands to be retained are colored pink. So you can also see on this draft plan of subdivision, the proposed subdivision configuration with the proposed walkway that leads to the school. So one of the items that we had to factor in to this application was that there was proposed drainage on the school block. This was proposed to be addressed as part of the subdivision, but it will now have to be addressed by the school board. So what we've done is we've recommended a condition stating that the school board will sign a memorandum of understanding indicating that they agree to complete the required drainage works on the conveyed lands. Next slide. These are the views looking both north and south along Highway 12. Next slide. The photo on the left-hand side shows the view looking north from the cul-de-sac on Dillon Avenue, and then the photo on the right shows the view looking south along Dillon Avenue. Next slide. This is the public notice sign that was posted along Highway 12. Next slide. So these two photos show the lands to be retained, which will be the future subdivision. Next slide. And these two photos show the lands to be severed and conveyed to the Warminster Elementary School. Next slide. It is recommended that consent application 2025-B09 be approved, as the application conforms to and is consistent with the applicable provincial, county, and township planning policies. All of the recommended conditions are listed on this slide and the following slide. They are all standard conditions with the exception of the one, and that is the condition that the school board signs the memorandum of understanding by which they acknowledge the requirement and timing of matters related to drainage on the lands to be severed and conveyed to the school. I am available if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCarroll. I now ask the agent Brandon DiLolo, who is registered to speak, if he has any comments or anything further to add to the staff presentation. Mr. DiLolo?
Thank you so much.
Please go ahead.
My name is Brent. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Brandon DiLolo. I'm representing the applicant through ARN Project Management. No further comments. Catherine did a great job explaining the application. I am here for any questions that are directed towards us. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. Committee members, any questions for the applicant's representative or Ms. McCarroll? Councillor Schell, please.
Yes, thank you, Deputy. Through you to Ms. McCarroll. Ms. McCarroll, is that property serviced by municipal water from the township at this time?
So through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Councillor Schell, the intention is that the future subdivision will be, but that has not been done yet because it's only at draft plan approval stage for the subdivision.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. Anyone else with further questions with regard to the matter? Okay, seeing none. Is there anyone else from the public or who's registered to speak to this matter?
Yes, Augusto Nali has also registered.
Okay, if we might have him, please.
Good evening, Chair and the committee. Can you hear me?
I can indeed. Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you. My name's Augusto Nali. I'm the owner of the property, and Brendan's here to represent us. So we're in good hands, and thank you to Catherine and staff for preparing the report. This is a good severance that we're going to be giving this land to the school board so they can expand their Warminster school. So very happy to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure you'll make a lot of children happy. Is there anyone else registered to speak to the matter?
No, Mr. Chair, there were no additional registrations received.
Okay, anyone who's come to chambers who wishes to speak to the matter? Yes, sir. Please come up and state your name.
Thank you. My name is Brandon Jewett. I just came tonight to inquire about the timeline for any development at the two properties, if that's possible.
Okay, it's probably not the subject matter of this application, but if the applicant would like to answer that, they may. Do you have any concept, I believe, in terms of a schedule for the development of the residential lands? If you wish to answer.
Mr. Chair, I'll take that one for Augusto and I.
Yes. Okay.
So the intention for the severance and the consent is for the school board to start their construction program this summer in anticipation for the start of the school year in September. So that is their timeline. Our understanding is that they are going to be expanding their play yard area. For the subdivision part south of the school, we are, as Catherine has mentioned, it was draft plan approved last year. We are going through the motions right now of the detailed design with the intention of working towards registration probably early next year.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for answering that.
Thank you.
Thank you. there are no other parties registered to speak, and there are no other parties in chambers. So has there any further correspondence received during the course of the hearing?
No, Mr. Chair, nothing further has been received.
Okay, thank you. And with that, may we hear the motion, please, Madam Deputy Clerk?
Moved by Greenlaw, seconded by Bard. It is recommended that that DS 2025-055, Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, reconsent application 2025B09, 12 West South Inc., 9647 Highway 12 be received and adopted. 2, that consent application 2025B09 to permit a boundary adjustment having a lot frontage of approximately 45.9 meters, 150.6 feet, an irregular lot depth, and a total area of approximately 0.40 hectares, 1.0 acres, to be added to the property located at 4031 Line 13 North, Warminster Elementary School, Township of Oro-Medonte, be approved, subject to the conditions as outlined in DS 2025-055. 3, that the applicants be advised of committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions with regard to the motion? Seeing none, may I call the vote, please? All in favor? Okay, the matter is carried. The motion is carried. And thank you very much for the land being transferred to the school. That's extremely nice. This completes the application process and closes this hearing. Committee wishes to thank all those in attendance for their participation, and a copy of the decision will be mailed to the applicant, agent, and anyone who has submitted written comments or provided oral comments during the hearing in regard to the application. Now, with that, we're finished. We've completed the hearings and meetings, and we're moving on to the reports of the officers. And with that, item 7A on the agenda, may we have the motion, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Clark. It is recommended that DS 2025-052, Brianna Belcourt, Policy Special Projects Planner, read Bill 17, Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act 2025, Proposed Building Code Act, Development Charges Act, and Planning Act requirements be received and adopted. 2, that the committee authorize staff to make a submission to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing based on the comments as outlined in DS 2025-052 through the Environmental Registry, 025-0453, 025-061, 025-0462, and Regulatory Registry of Ontario, 25 MMAH 003 and 25 MMAH 004, respectively, as the Township's submission on Bill 17, including proposed amendments to the Building Code Act, Development Charges Act, and Planning Act, in addition to any other comments received by Council.
Thank you very much. With that, I'll just open the floor to comments and questions with regard to the report, and I just want to comment initially that thank you very much to the planning staff and Ms. Belcourt for this report. It's a very important and changing landscape that we find ourselves in with regard to our planning processes. So it's very important that we stay abreast of these matters. So with that, members of the committee, do you have any comments or questions with regard to the report or the tables appended? Councillor Bard.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, through you, I guess, to Brianna. Thank you for doing this report, and it's a lot, and it's going to change things a lot. Just coming out of the ice storm, looking at, so there is some concern that people could occupy their homes without paying these fees, which we would be using. So would we be responsible for cleaning up this subdivision if a disaster was to strike, but we haven't collected any fees? Is that something that we could be concerned about, or am I grasping at straws here?
Please, Ms. Belcourt.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, through you to Councillor Bard. There are limited things that development charges can pay for. Those capital costs are defined in the Development Charges Act. and is ironically one of the things that these changes may look to change. I'm not sure if the removal of trees or cleanup of a development site would fall under that. Typically, it's more like infrastructure, parks, that kind of thing, from my understanding. However, with that said, there is certainly some concern at this time with the limited information that we have about deferring DCs from building permit issuance to occupancy for residential dwellings. There's very little information on how this would be implemented and how it could be enforced. So there is definitely concern that people could occupy their house before paying their DCs.
Yes, supplemental, please proceed.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just concerned that, yes, we're going to be assuming responsibility before we collect the money, which is, and like you said, the unknown, which is kind of concerning. So you're at the comment stage and adding possibly suggestions that may or may not be listened to. And there's so many reasons why we're in this housing situation and the cost of housing, et cetera. And one of my concerns is, what are we doing to encourage speculators to get moving and the holding of vacant land? So is there some kind of negotiation or extra step we could put in to our comments to say, well, yeah, we'll defer development charges on properties that have been vacant for less than 10 years. But if your property's been vacant for 20 years, maybe you don't apply to this. And I'm not looking for an answer or a comment, but I'm just trying to think, well, if we're really trying to speed up development, let's get this vacant land moving. So maybe change. That's just a comment, really. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Bard. It's sort of an incentive, for those lands that have been sitting about, and there are a number of them in the township. Any other comments or questions with regard to this? Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. Through you to Ms. Belcourt. How would the best way to position in our feedback that you'll provide to the province to bring closure to occupancy permits in regards to, because I know you can give occupancy, but then to finalize that permit and the way they're deferring that payment, how do we protect ourselves as a municipality of that being kicked down the road for extended periods of time?
Please, Ms. Belcourt.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Mayor Greenlaw. I think really in our comments and as suggested in line 7 of the chart is emphasizing that the province define recourse and the opportunities available for municipalities to ensure that development charges are paid. How it works now, we don't release a building permit, so they can't build. So it gives them incentive to pay their development charges. That incentive is maybe removed by deferring it to occupancy stage. So I think focusing our comments to the province through their ERO postings to define that resource or recourse and what options are available and how implementation looks will be a really important part.
Thank you very much. And just a supplemental, if you don't mind. So would it be appropriate for us to give in your question to the province a suggestion of a 30-day time parameter from once we initiate occupancy that they would have in order to close it off for the final? Would that be a fair amount of time to potentially suggest to the province?
Please proceed.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Mayor Greenlaw. I think it may be fair to identify that the province should stipulate a timeline to put like a hard and fast date like they do for notices for planning applications or those kind of things. My knowledge in the world of finance and building code is limited, so I wouldn't want to say for sure 30 days would be an ideal time, and maybe Director Spagnol can add to that a bit more, but I think identifying a hard and fast timeline would be beneficial to municipalities, and then some recourse that we could take if those deadlines aren't met.
Thank you very much. Director Spagnell, did you wish to comment?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor LeBlanc. I think the comments received are appropriate given that we have limited information. I think the comments can be refined to say that the province needs to identify tools that the municipality has to set a time frame that the municipality feels is appropriate to be receiving development charges after we have residents living in houses. I think that's the general intent of the comment from the mayor, and the comments can be revised to Ms. Belcour's comments to really provide emphasis to that point, that the province needs to identify the tools that municipalities have to be in a position to collect money within a suitable time frame. And I think that's really what it comes down to, and that ties into Councillor Bard's comments as well. So I think the comments would be would include a statement to emphasize that key statement, that there needs to be tools provided to municipalities so that they can collect development charges within a reasonable time frame, while balancing the need to allow for developer to utilize those funds to continue to develop while still meeting the objectives of the province. So I think we can refine the comments to include that emphasis.
Okay, no, thank you very much, both Mr. Spagnell and Ms. Belcourt. Ms. Belcourt, thank you very much. Great report. Just to echo what Councillor Bard and the Deputy Mayor has stated, and I don't envy any of you in planning right now, the way that they keep coming out with new bills and calling audibles, it seems like, every long weekend. But you know, I guess the positive is there's only about, what, 5 more long weekends before the end of the year. So hopefully you have no problem shifting gears, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. I did have a couple of questions with regard to any, subdivision sort of development and occupancy itself, whether commercial or residential. Is occupancy when the last lot, shall we say, is occupied, or is it when the occupancy commences? And I just put that question out there for consideration only by way of clarification to the province. I'm not sure that that's been set out anywhere. And the other possibility, I presume, is some sort of securities held against the development charges, although I appreciate that the objective is to defer the payment till the last possible moment. But I have some concerns that if a applicant gets into receivership, as happened recently in a neighboring municipality, we may never get that money. So, and to a smaller municipality such as this, who might have a large development, it could be quite an impact. And I guess clarification, as Ms. Belcourt has already identified with regard to infrastructure, linear or otherwise, such as bridges and what other roadways or other things, drainage systems, that the deferment might apply to, that, will we then have to withhold some kind of reserve to pay for that in advance and then receive the money afterwards? So there are a number of possible implications, and they could be large financial consequences depending on the size of the development, which could stunt smaller municipalities or rural municipalities like ours from development, because we don't have the economic resource to withstand that economic delay. So just additional comments for you. I hope they make some sense. When are the comments? Mr. Spagnell.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor LeBlanc. I think, and I think just to clarify that, I think just to theme or just to package that up, I think where you're going with this is their deferral of development charges could in effect delay needed capital projects at the municipal level for the smaller municipalities when we're talking about big dollars being paid for capital infrastructure, or put municipalities, smaller municipalities, in a position where they have to borrow money and pay off debt to cover those capital costs for the infrastructure. So I think that's the general thrust of where you're going with the deferral of that. And I just wanted to clarify that for Ms. Belcourt, who will be preparing the comments. But it's a great point and well taken and noted by staff. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that summary. Which Lee, and there was a recent example with the Township of Clearview where Simcoe County loaned them $25 million because they were unable to raise that money with their own borrowing space. So if we're not in that position, but should we get there, we might not be able to debenture the difference in order to pay. So, I mean, there are, yes, Mr. Spagnell.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. It's a conversation I think we could probably have for the evening, because I think when I read some of the correspondence that came from the province, there was some notes in there that municipalities in various areas were not utilizing their development charges, and the thought for capital projects. And the thought was that there was somehow some deferral of those large sums of development charges that municipalities were just sitting on those. So it's funny on how when you look at the rural municipality in the rural context as to how important those development charges are to move capital projects forward. In the same instance with Oro-Medonte, but you compare that to other municipalities that might be referenced or that the province is referring to, where there's a statement that somehow funds are being sat on too long to pay for capital projects. So it's this balancing act, I think, between the rural and urban type centers, but we can talk about these types of things, I think, well past the second period of the hockey game tonight. But anyway, that's my
very
comment.
grateful you pointed that out. But yes, we could indeed. And Ms. Belcourt, when are the comments due by?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. There are two different comment periods. So for the bill itself and the Development Charges and Planning Act changes, it's a 30-day comment period that is due next Wednesday on June 11th. There's a few regulations that would come from the amendments to the acts, and for two notably, so the minor variances, and there's one other one, they are extended for 45 days, so they close on the 26th.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Schell, please.
Yes, thank you, Deputy. Through you to Mr. Spagnell. Can you help explain to the public that their perception is that the developers are paying for, all the services that they're providing? It's not coming out of the taxpayers. They're responsible for it. So some of the public are confused as to what it's actually costing the municipality, or how the municipality's spending money on it.
Please, Mr. Spagnell.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, through you to Councillor Schell. So I think the intention behind development charges is really that development pay for development, and any capital or any infrastructure that is required to support new development gets paid by that specific development. So in essence, if there are situations where there are development charges being deferred or waived, essentially it is the taxpayer that would have to pick up the freight for any of those infrastructure projects that might have to wait pending the payment of the development charges. So the concept that's being discussed here from the respect related to deferrals is that if there is a capital project that is required and it's subject to the payment of development charges and it's an immediate need, the tax base may have to front end the cost for that infrastructure until such time as the development charges are collected. And then we get into possibly debenturing and paying for things up front, that sort of thing that have to be paid back. So there is a potential impact to the ratepayer for those immediate capital projects if for some reason the township in question does not have reserves to cover off those infrastructure projects. So there could potentially be an impact to the taxpayer for a deferral if we're talking about infrastructure projects where there aren't reserves in hand and where the tax base has to be relied upon to go and cover off those capital costs. So it's a little bit of a shift, but there is a potential exposure there to the taxpayer for those immediate projects that need to go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. The other question, there was a considerable amount of language around a prescribed professional. And I don't know whether it's useful to contemplate the some sort of indemnification by the province or some other party, whether that the prescribed professionals be required to have a higher threshold of insurance now to cover any errors and omissions that they could make in the course of practicing, given that there might not be the opportunity for peer review or other validation of the work that's being presented on behalf of the developer. Should we not be able to do that ourselves? Now, in part, there are some factors that it may not be considerably important about by way of financial liability or risk, but there could be major issues for large projects involving large infrastructure. And so I don't know if we would contemplate indicating to the province that if they choose, we'd be grateful if they would indemnify that sort of undertaking on our behalf. And then finally, last question. I didn't see any contemplation of any Indigenous participation in this. Was any of that changed or that you saw in this bill?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. I did not see any specific consultation to the Indigenous groups or any amendments specific to those parties.
Thank you very much. And once again, thank you. And sorry for all the grilling. Okay. Any further comments or questions with regard to this? Thank you very much. So with that, we move on to, we have to have the motion, right?
Yes, the draft motion has been placed on the floor if you'd like to call a question.
I would please.
Thank you.
May I call the vote, please? All in favor? The motion is carried. Oh, may we please have a motion for item 7B, please?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, staff have drafted 4 separate draft motions as noted in the report. I'm wondering if the committee would like to first discuss the report and the options as noted.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
With that, I'll open the floor. Perhaps Ms. McCarroll, you'd like to explain the 4 options first? Would that be amenable?
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Thank you very much.
So consent application 2024 B16 was considered by the committee at the meeting on the March 5th and was deferred to provide the applicants with the opportunity to revise their plans to address planning staff's concerns. So following the public hearing, the applicants provided planning staff with a number of alternatives, which we made them narrow down to their top 2. And none of these options conform to the township's official plan, due to the proposed irregular lot shapes and the fragmentation of the farmland, which in turn, in fact, impacts the viability of the agricultural parcels. So due to the unique configuration of the lands that are currently being cultivated and the limits of the natural heritage features, planning staff are providing the committee with 4 options to choose from. So option 1 is the original proposal, which is to sever 70.3 hectares and retain 10 hectares. Now, this proposed lot configuration does not conform to the official plan because the official plan requires a minimum lot area of 40 hectares for both the severed and retained lands. Option 2 is proposing a lot area of 42 hectares for the severed lands and 38.3 hectares for the retained lands. and is basically a backward C shape.
May I just interrupt? Can we display those options?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, please. Just for those who may be watching online.
So, the option that's on the screen right now, that is option 1. So you can see the severed lands are outlined in red and the retained lands are outlined in green. So it would be 70 hectares for the severed lands and 10 hectares for the retained lands. If you want to go to the next page. So this is option 2. So in order to meet the lot area, the applicants propose to wrap the lot around in behind. Now that results in fragmentation of the existing land that's currently being cultivated and is simply not functional the way it's proposed. And then option 3 was to defer the application for a second time to provide the applicants with the opportunity to revise their plans to conform to the township's official plan. And then option 4 was to deny the application on the basis that it does not conform to the township's official plan. I did want to note that we did receive comments from the applicant today suggesting that she could fall within the severance of a surplus farm dwelling and rezone the severed lands to prohibit residential uses. So I just wanted to provide some clarification on that option as well. So the proposed severance does not meet the criteria for a severance of a surplus farm dwelling, as they're not consolidating farm parcels, and because the retained residential lot would only be permitted to have a maximum lot area of 1 hectare, and they're hoping for 10 hectares. And the retained lands would only be permitted to contain residential uses. No agricultural uses would be permitted on the retained lands. So that provides a quick background. I'm available if there are any questions on any of the 4 options. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members of the committee, do we have any comments or questions with regard to the 4 or 5 options before us? Councillor Bard.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, through you. So the purpose of this is to maintain farmland, correct? And then, sorry, I asked a question, then didn't let you answer. But there's a lot of wooded area there, and I'm assuming that's because it's fairly hilly and a lot of change in elevation, and that's why it's not being farmed, or can we confirm that? I guess I'm looking, is this the maximum farmable area that we see in front of us right now?
So through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, I think this might be a better question for the property owners. I am quite familiar with the area, and it is quite heavily treed and hilly near line 5, but I think they could speak to it a little bit better than I can because they're more familiar with the property.
Yeah, if you could please come up and, yes, state your name into the microphone. And
no, I heard you. My name's Ann Walker. Yes, the part of the farm that was not cleared for a reason. Yes, very hilly and not really farmable.
Yes, please, Councillor.
So in your opinion, this is pretty much the maximum farmable area that we see there, and then your option number 1 is a way to maximize that farmable area for the farmer that's using that land?
Yes. Our hope is to sell the fields to an active farmer. When you look at the picture there, if it was divided down the middle to the 40 and 40, the part that we would retain would be most of the fields, and the part that we would sell would be a few fields, and then the buyer would be allowed to build on those fields because the residents would be allowed. So even less farmland would be available. And also, the county is allowing us to provide the new entrance indicated there in white. But we have to close the current entrance. So if we divided it down the middle, we would lose access to the fields we'd retain because we wouldn't have a farm entrance then.
Thank you very much. Any further questions or comments? Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. If I could just get some clarity from staff in regards to, I think it's the second paragraph on page 8. Just the County of Simcoe provided comments dated February 28th, 2025, indicating that the county has no objection to the proposal in principle. My question is, what do they mean when they're asking for provided the transportation and engineering conditions stated above are included? So when I'll interpret it first and then you tell me that I'm right or wrong. Is that okay? It sounds to me like if we want to retain the most amount of farmland, the county doesn't necessarily have an objective or an objection to that, even though the township's official plan and policies and the county's official plan and policies don't necessarily support that in principle, but they understand that sometimes those situations don't necessarily align with the stated objective of retaining farmland.
So through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Councillor Clark. So long story short, the Simcoe County was circulated the initial application, which they support. From their perspective, they view it as a rural designation. Now, the reason why our agricultural policies come into play is if you look at our rural designation policies, it says if a severance is for agricultural purposes, then it defers to our agricultural severance policies. And it's in those agricultural severance policies that we have the requirement for 40 hectares for both the severed and retained lands, which the county does not require for a rural designation severance. So they are in support of option 1. They had concerns, similar concerns to planning staff for option 2, because they felt that the configuration wasn't functional. But I'm available if there are any other questions for clarification.
That helped to clarify. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, please.
Thank you, Deputy, through you to staff. My only question is that even though county is supportive of option 1, which makes sense, it does not align with our official plan. And so where does that expose us from setting precedent on other applications coming down the pipe in the future?
So through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie, to Mayor Greenlaw, we obviously look at each application on a case-by-case basis. Now, in this particular case, the configuration of the cultivated land and the natural heritage features is very unique. So that's something that we factor in, but there's definitely the possibility of setting a precedence if people see that another application was approved. But again, it's a case-by-case basis. This lot's very unique. It's not like a typical agricultural severance where most of the land is typically cultivated.
So our defense potentially could be topographic features and the fact that the elevation differentials within the property are the reasons we gave some leniency.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I think secondary to that, or perhaps primary to that, the preservation of as much active farmland as possible. Okay, with that, maybe we should put option 1 on the floor for a vote, which is, just make sure we're talking about the same option, first of all, because there are a number, an undocumented one, yes. Okay, so this would now provide 2 properties facing onto Horseshoe Valley Road with 2 entrances on Horseshoe Valley Road. Is that correct?
Sorry, can you please repeat that?
Oh, yes. Each of the properties would have an access from Horseshoe Valley Road.
So through you, Deputy Mayor Lavoie. So for this proposal, what would happen is there's actually going to be an easement through the severed lot that's in the middle. That would be a condition of the consent, would be that the applicant of those lands apply for an official easement, because Simcoe County is actually going to make them close one of the existing entrances as a condition of approval.
Okay. And where would that, sorry, I'm not noticing where the easement
it would
is.
be, if you can see the white box where it says new farm entrance and then there's an arrow.
Right.
There would be an easement that would follow along the west side of that lot.
Okay. So that entrance, that easement would be in favor of the severed lands?
Correct. So it'd be across 459 Horseshoe Valley Road West, which is not their property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it would be in favor of the severed lands.
Okay, and is 495 Horseshoe Valley Road in favor of the easement? Will they grant the easement?
To be honest, it's been so long since we initially circulated the application. I'm going to have to verify with the property owner.
Would you please? Just state your name again when you come up. Thank you.
Ann Walker. The owner of, what's the number?
459.
459 is Ian Walker, who is part of the farm ownership. He's one of the Walkers listed on the application.
He's the last of the lawyers on the list?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
So
that,
yes, he's in favor.
Yes, okay, thank you. Voluntarily? Yes, okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that point in case it ended up being a hiccup, shall we call it, later on. Okay, so, can we call a vote on option 1, please?
If there's a mover and seconder, please, for me to put the
Yes.
motion on the
Hey.
floor.
So we have Councillor Bart and Councillor Shell.
Moved by Bard, seconded by Shell. It is recommended that DS 2025-056, Catherine McCarroll, Senior Planner, Reconsent Application 2024-B16, Walker, and Butler, 343 Horseshoe Valley Road West, be received and adopted. 2, that consent application 2024-B16 to permit the creation of a new agricultural lot having a lot frontage of approximately 618.0 meters, 2,027.6 feet, a lot depth of 590.0 meters, 1,935.7 feet, and a lot area of 70.3 hectares, 173.7 acres, be approved subject to the conditions as outlined in report DS 2025-056. And 4, that the applicants be advised of the committee's decision under the Secretary-Treasurer's signature.
Thank you very much for the motion. Any questions with regard to the motion first? Seeing none, okay. I call a vote, please. All in favor? Okay, the motion is carried. I'd like to thank everyone actually for working through this, staff and the applicant. I know it was a little bit of a struggle, but we got to the finish line. Anyway, so thank you very much, and the motion will be mailed out, I think, or you'll receive notice of the motion. Thank you very much. With that, I don't believe there's any items left unattended on the agenda. That's correct. So the next meeting date is July 2nd, so right after Canada Day. So may we have a motion to adjourn, please?
Moved by Greenlaw, seconded by Clark. It is recommended that we do now adjourn at 7:09 p.m.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? Oh, thank you. The motion is carried. So I'd like to thank everybody for their participation tonight and for staff for the great work that they did. And Mayor Greenlaw, over to you for the council meeting following the Development Services Committee.
Thank you very much, Deputy. I'll call to order the meeting. May we please have a motion to adopt the agenda, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that the agenda for the council meeting of Wednesday, June 4th, 2025 be received and adopted.
All in favor? That is carried. Are there any pecuniary interests to disclose at this time? Seeing none, although I just as a point, was there one matter that we need from the last meeting? Was there any disclosures that had to be?
There was a disclosure made at the Development Services Committee meeting. There is no recommendation emanating from that.
Okay.
From that item.
Okay. That's fine then. Perfect. Then may we have a motion for the draft minutes of the previous council meeting, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that the draft minutes of the council meeting held on Wednesday, May 7, 2025 be received and adopted as printed and circulated.
All in favor? That is carried. May we have a motion to approve the recommendations of tonight's DSC meeting, please?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that the recommendations of the Development Services Committee meeting held on Wednesday, June 4th, 2025 be adopted.
All in favor? That is carried. There are no bylaws. And may we have a motion for the confirmation bylaw, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-051, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on Wednesday, June 4th, 2025, be passed in open council on the 4th day of June, 2025.
All in favor? That is carried. And a motion to adjourn.
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 7:11 p.m.
All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much, everyone, and good luck to the Edmonton Oilers, and bring the cup home.